So what do I think they're going to do in 2026? I do think they're going to take a shot at a Reichstag movement. A lot of people were looking for this in 2025. I was as well, where they could use a false flag, Putin-esque attempt at a attack on American soil to consolidate control and bring in the military, bring in the National Guard, and all those things. And that never really happened. They tried to push it a little bit with the Charlie Kirk stuff, and then Antifa is the enemy, anti-fascist, which never made sense, and they're still trying to figure that out. But they tried it a little bit, like they did some test cases. They wanted to have more control over the National Guard, and that has kind of basically shut down for them, except in D.C. where he has more control. But now we see the National Guard deployments being pulled back from the Democrat cities. They still have troops in red states where the governors are more than willing to do whatever Trump wants. That's in New Orleans and then as well as Memphis. But it didn't go the way they planned on that. There are things that they are looking at in 2026 with this rapid deployment response force for the National Guard that all of them were supposed to create. I believe it was 300 individuals per. There's already a rapid, response team for each National Guard for the emergency situations and like environmental disasters, things like that. But I think they're going to try to push something. It'll probably be around spring or summer. It really depends on how far down the rabbit hole we go on Epstein. And if we get closer to a threat for him, he'll go earlier. Like he'll try to do something earlier and hope that he can get people in a situation where they cause havoc, much like we're now seeing with the Brian J. Cole guy, January 6th, boom boom stick suspect who believed Trump's lies. They'll try to get people in that realm to do those things to cause havoc. And it might even be something that he's involved in and is true loyalists, help stage where people lose their lives. And I hate to say that, but let's be fucking honest. He doesn't give a shit about lives. He gives a shit about staying out of jail. He gives a shit about having attention and being in charge and being in control. So I do. I think in 2026 there's going to be an attempt there where he's going to hope that enough people believe him. But this is the problem that they're running into because they were built off of QAnon and they were built off conspiracy theories. Their own people are questioning them about Charlie Kirk, about the attack on the Texas ICE facility, where the only people that were, heard were immigrants who were working at the facility. So many spaces where nothing is just making sense to a group that you created to ask questions. And now that, you're in charge, Trump and the GOP and conspiracy theorists are in charge, they can't seal the deal. They can't sell the story on these things because they trained their base to ask too many questions. And so that's hurting them. That is absolutely hurting them. And it will hurt any kind of attempt that they have in a Reichstag moment where they try to gain control and shut down elections. They can't shut down elections. That'll be part of it, the fear game, where don't go vote because you're going to be in danger. They're absolutely in a lot of these states. They're going to try to suppress the vote, and they've done that multiple times before. But the federal judges have stood up, state judges have stood up and said no in a lot of these spaces. I'm not saying it has worked all the time, but the judges have really kind of helped prevent that from going too far. And I think that's the combination of a Reichstag moment to help with elections and midterms and keep people scared and try to lock down elections. I don't think it'll be successful. I think the judges will come in and fix that. It's going to come down to people's personal fear. And if he makes them scared enough with all his bluster and his bullshit, just like he did with the National Guard in 2025 in the military and saying he was going to take over and be in control, it didn't work. So please remember that as you go into 2026, he's going to try that. He's going to try to work the fringes and keep people from voting with a moment that he creates, a violent moment that he creates, and then the threat of violent moments that he is going to talk about. So please be aware of that. But that's what I think. That's one of the big things that's coming in 2026. And a lot of it is going to be directly related to how far we get into the Epstein files. and how much of that comes out and how threatened he feels. That's what it comes down to, is, he's willing to do anything to stay out of jail and to keep himself from getting in trouble. He is the world's most dangerous little boy.
The President of the United States has just announced that he's cutting off all federal funding to blue states. This would be the collapse of the United States of America if he is not prevented from doing this. This is an illegal seizure of spending power. This is a collapse of federalism, and it is a constitutional coup. Infrastructure in states will come to a screeching halt, so construction workers will lose their jobs in mass. Road projects will end, transit projects will end, Medicaid will be shut off, hospitals will close, nurses and doctors won't get paid, and nursing care facilities will shutter. School lunches, food assistance, public workers, and state budgets will completely collapse. This will cause the loss of life and irreparable harm to children, to the elderly, to veterans, to working families all across this country. And we will officially be an authoritarian government. Our Constitution will be null and void. This is serious, and we should take it serious. Congress needs to act now, Democrats and Republicans. He is destroying the United States of America as we know it.